Alright, so, next one I'm going to talk about is Bratz, the movie. So this movie is based on the line of really creepy alien-looking dolls that you might be familiar with. The movie is directed by Sean McNamara, who I know particularly from his work doing Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain, which I've already reviewed with the IMDb Bottom 100, and also because he did a recent remake of the film Space Camp called Space Warriors. Space Camp was filmed in my hometown of Huntsville, Alabama, and I have a particular loathing for Space Camp, and Space Warriors was filmed there as well, so I have some affiliation, I guess you could say, with that movie. Hatred by proximity. Anyway, this is Sean McNamara's Bratz, the movie. I don't know what to say about it, other than, for reasons I don't totally understand, I kind of hate it. Like, I would actually recommend this as a good, bad movie. I was really surprised by that. I listened to one review before I went into watching Bratz, the movie, because I kind of wanted to know. Usually I don't listen or watch or read reviews of these movies before I go into them, unless I already know them. And I listened to an episode of The Flophouse, which is a pretty good bad movie podcast, and they talked about Bratz, and it was a particularly popular episode of theirs, and I was surprised to hear them all recommend it. And now that I've watched the movie, I really agree with it. I've started showing this to my friends. It is a dumb movie. It is a dumb kids movie. It really feels... one common thing I hear a lot is that it feels like a Mean Girls ripoff. I've never seen Mean Girls, and I don't particularly care to, but apparently that's kind of what this is. But it's also like a really dumb one. Where to start with this? So we're introduced to 4 Bratz. They're not labeled the Bratz until later on in the movie. They actually tie that into the plot. One of them is vaguely, like, I think it's Mexican? Latina in some way. But she doesn't look like it. It looks like they couldn't find actors or didn't find actors to portray her, like, Hispanic family. So they just cast, like, white people and Jewish people and pretended that they were, like, Hispanic. Because her mom character just seems like a Jewish mom. And pretty sure she's played Jewish moms and other things. And she looks really mighty Caucasian. Anyway, she's one of the Bratz. She's really good at singing, but doesn't want anybody to know about it. The unfortunate thing there is she's not actually good at singing, and she's probably the weakest singer of the bunch. Then there's another one, the African-American brat, who's a cheerleader, and is super rich and has divorced parents. That's the extent of her individuality. Then there's another one who is poor, and I think that's the one. Yeah, so the poor one is the white one with the mother who is a caterer and that doesn't have a dad. I remember that character for one reason, and that's because at one point the Bratz are fighting. They do that a few times in the movie and break up, in which the one of the Bratz says to her, or she says first, "Only because you buy your friends with your daddy's bank account." And one of the other Bratz responds with, "That's only because you don't have a dad or a bank account." That's just, wow, that's harsh, kid. But yeah, that made me remember the character, because she neither has a dad nor a bank account, therefore is poor and only has a mom, and the mom is the part of the plot, because she caters parties. And then the other brat is a fashion/science nerd, Asian character, I think? Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, they're all completely perfect and good at everything they ever try, and are totally flawless characters. They're entering high school, a high school divided into many, many cliques that is run by their draconian student body president, who's kind of a Paris Hilton knockoff sort of thing. Yeah. Jon Voight plays her father, who barely gets any screen time, but he looks absolutely ridiculous, and was clearly paid a lot of money to do very little in this movie. So Jon Voight's sort of there. So yeah, the student body president is freaked out by the Bratz because she wants everything to be organized and cliquey, and they don't fit into a clique of her designation. So she winds up breaking up the Bratz into specific cliques. One of them joins the science club, one of them joins the cheerleaders, one of them joins the soccer team, and one of them apparently joins the journalism club, although they never show the journalism club, so whatever. Um, so, yeah, about 20 minutes into this movie, you get a title card that says 3 years later, or something like that. So we just sort of fast forward to junior year, after introducing them to high school, and they're all separate and in their cliques, and they get into a giant food fight, and that causes them to join back together after having an additional fight in detention, in which we get the legendary "you don't have a dad or a bank account" line. So then they have reforged their alliance, and the student body president is foiled. Then the student body president decides to have a second Sweet 16 party in order to reassert her power or dominance or something. It goes badly. She hires the one Bratz mom to be the caterer, and then holds that over all their heads. So they wind up having to fill in. They have to fill in for her, the mom, because she passes out and doesn't do the catering, and the kids do it, who have no experience cooking, but are good at everything that they try, so they will be perfect at everything. So they do all the catering themselves, and then do all the waiting themselves when the waitstaff doesn't show up. So, yeah. To try and get back at them, the president gives them clown clothes to wear during the party, which the idea there is that they have to wear those clothes, but what they do is that they customize them into good clown clothes, I guess? Whatever. So they do the party thing, and it goes well, and they get titled the Bratz because they've ruined the president character's day. Whatever. You think that's the end of the movie, kind of, at that point, because that seems like a big climax. All the Bratz are back together, and they foiled her plot. But they had established earlier in the movie that there's a big talent show every year, and the Bratz decide to enter it to get something. I don't remember their initial motivation, but ultimately they want it for a scholarship for the poor one to go to college. So they want to use all of their combined skills to win the talent competition. So that is the plan. So the talent competition has been sort of mentioned previously, but after the movie feels like it's over, they just go into the talent competition, in which the class president does another one of her singing routines. There are a lot of songs in this movie, by the way. The Bratz have their own singing routine and employ the help of their their deaf friend. There is a subplot in this movie in which there is a deaf boy at the school who has gone deaf, but loves music, and their music teacher teaches him how to spin, to be a DJ. He is the romantic interest of one of the Bratz that I don't remember which one. They talk the talented singing one into leading the band, and then she gets blackmailed and stuff and doesn't want to do it, and then they wind up doing it anyway, and apparently they're super awesome and stuff, and have a lot of bratitude, as they call it in the song. So ultimately, you would think they would win, but they ultimately tie, they get the scholarship, poor one gets to go to college, and Sean McNamara himself, the director of the feature, walks up and claims to be an MTV producer and invites them to do some MTV event at a red carpet thing, and then, yay, it seems like a backdoor tie-in to some sort of thing. Thankfully, it's not, and this is the end, because this movie's really bad. Basically, we're presented with the most unrealistic characters ever that are good at absolutely everything they do, and if you're not as good as these Bratz, you're just not good enough. Something, friendship, happy, whatever. Why I say this is a good, bad movie, there are a few reasons. It is just ridiculous. It is really dumb and really silly, but also there's these weird little bits of cleverness in the background. Particularly, the school is called Carrie Nation High School, and if you want to brush up on your American history, Carrie Nation was a very big anti-alcohol advocate. She was a prohibitionist, and would go into bars and smash them apart with a hatchet. So in the movie at Carrie Nation High School, the background is always the school's mascot. Technically they're the Falcons for some reason, but their mascot is actually Carrie Nation. The logo for the talent show is her juggling hatchets, and then in the background elsewhere in the restroom, it says no flushing non-toilet paper, and there's a picture of Carrie Nation with a hatchet breaking down a door to a stall. And there's all sorts of weird stuff like that in the background that I thought was way too clever for this movie. Yeah, I loved that stuff. But yeah, for whatever reason, this was kind of like, what's going on here? Sort of things. Like, all the characters are so unbelievable. This was such a not real scenario. Like, the cliques. I mentioned there are a lot of cliques in this particular high school. These cliques aren't real cliques. Like, apart from, like, the marching band and the cheerleaders and the science club, you also had, yeah, there were kids that dressed like dinosaurs. That's not a real thing. Mimes? Two different subspecies of hippies. Like, it's like they had the idea, like, oh, well, high schools have a lot of cliques, and they thought about it, and they had no idea what the actual cliques were, so they assumed there are kids that dress like dinosaurs at every school. Whatever. So there's enough minute details like that that make it more or less entertaining to watch. This one's very low, I think, in the bottom 100. Like, it's not super bad down there, but the lesson is super bad. Everything's bad. It's trying to sell you toys. But I don't know. I really do feel like it's a good bad movie. It's one of the rare good bad movies in this list of the IMDb bottom 100. I enjoyed it a little bit. I hated the songs, I hated the characters, I hated everything, but I wound up enjoying it all in all. And I think some of the people I showed it to did too. Sort of a mixed bag. So yeah, I guess I can kind of recommend watching the Bratz movie if you come across it. It's a weird experience, so check it out.